Have you ever imagined a completely different version of your life? A better career, a creative project, a healthier version of yourself? Maybe even a life that feels more meaningful. You can see it so clearly in your mind, but somehow you never actually move toward it. And the strange part is, you don't necessarily lack ambition. You might actually think about your future more than most people. So why do your biggest dreams stay dreams? The answer might be more uncomfortable than you think, because sometimes the dream itself isn't the problem. It's what the dream allows you to feel. When you imagine becoming successful, your brain gives you a small taste of the person you could become. You feel capable, important, hopeful, and for a moment, you get to experience the emotional reward without having to face the uncertainty of actually trying. That's where something interesting happens. Your imagination can become a substitute for action. You imagine starting the business. You imagine making the videos. You imagine becoming disciplined. You imagine what your life will look like 5 years from now. And because you've already experienced that future emotionally, your brain can mistake thinking about it for making progress toward it. But there's another layer. Sometimes you're not afraid of failure. You're afraid of what trying might reveal about you. Because as long as the dream remains a dream, it can stay perfect. You can tell yourself, I could do it if I really tried. And that sentence protects your self-image. Because the moment you actually try, the fantasy meets reality. Maybe you're not immediately good at it. Maybe people don't notice. Maybe you fail. Maybe you discover that becoming the person you imagined requires far more patience than you expected. So the mind creates a clever escape. Keep the dream alive, but keep it safely in the future. Someday I'll start, when things settle down, when I have more time, when I feel ready. But here's the problem with someday. It feels like a plan, without requiring a decision. And the longer you wait, the more comfortable the distance becomes. You don't abandon the dream. You simply keep postponing the moment when it has to become real. This is why some people spend years thinking about their potential, while barely testing it. And there's something else we rarely talk about. Big dreams are emotionally expensive. A dream doesn't just ask you to work, it asks you to change. If you want a different life, you eventually have to become someone capable of living that life. And that means letting go of familiar versions of yourself. The person who always says, I'm going to start, has to become the person who actually starts. The person who says, I want to create something meaningful, has to become comfortable creating things that might initially be mediocre, and that's uncomfortable. So maybe you don't need a bigger dream. Maybe you need to stop treating your dream like a destination and start treating it like an experiment. Don't ask, can I completely change my life? Ask, what is one small thing I can prove to myself today? Write the first page. Make the first video. Apply for the opportunity. Spend 30 minutes learning the skill, not because that one action will change your life overnight, but because it changes something much more important. It changes your relationship with your own potential. You stop being someone who only imagines. You become someone who tests. And maybe that's the real difference between people who eventually live their dreams and people who spend their lives thinking about them. Your biggest dream doesn't need more imagination. It needs its first piece of evidence, because a dream becomes real. Not when you finally feel ready, but when you finally give it something from the real world to grow from.